My previous video, entitled Marxism-Leninism versus Trotskyism, raised some particular questions in need of elaboration regarding the concept of socialism in one country. In this video, I will attempt to clarify that socialism in one country is completely compatible with the basic principles of Marxist-Leninist internationalism. But first, I'd like to address the need and possibility for establishing socialist organization in one country alone. Unraveling socialism in one country from the Trotskyite and social democratic lies is essential if we're going to understand its inherent correctness and its compatibility with Marxism-Leninism. In his theoretical essay concerning questions of Leninism, Stalin distinguished two important questions within socialism in one country. Namely, the formulation of socialism in one country is essentially a distinction between the possibility of building socialism by the efforts of one country versus the question of whether or not socialism can be fully attained, meaning a guaranteed protection against intervention and capitalist restoration. The distinction between the two provides the critical element in understanding socialism in one country and its compatibility with Marxist-Leninist internationalism. Stalin and his comrades distinguished between the possibility of establishing socialism in one country versus the guaranteed victory of socialism as defining the possibility of accomplishing the task of establishing socialist production along socialist lines in one country. Stalin never abandoned the objective for international socialist revolution as an essential element in the overall victory of socialism. Rather, socialism in one country would require that the dictatorship of the proletariat, after seizing power, can and must organize production along socialist lines, even in a country such as Russia, with limited industrial infrastructure and a small urban proletariat. The main criticisms against socialism in one country was that it would prove unable to stand up against a conservative Europe without support from socialist revolution abroad. But this attempt at repudiating the validity of socialism in one country fails to account for the contradictions that emerge from global capitalist relations, which posits uneven characteristics of the development of various capitalist countries under the conditions of imperialism. Developments of inherent and catastrophic contradictions leading to wars and conflict in all countries leads to an uneven growth in the revolutionary movement, in turn leading not only to the possibility but the necessity of the victory of the proletariat in individual countries. This was Stalin's conclusions based on fundamental Leninism. Stalin and his followers never once denied that the complete victory of socialism, meaning a full guarantee against capitalist restoration, would be possible without international revolution. In Foundations of Leninism, Stalin wrote, "The final victory of socialism is the full guarantee against attempts at intervention, and hence restoration, for any serious attempt at restoration can take place only with serious support from outside, only with the support of international capital. Therefore, the support of our revolution by the workers of all countries, and still more the victory of the workers in at least several countries, is a necessary condition for fully guaranteeing the first victorious country against attempts at intervention and restoration, a necessary condition for the final victory of socialism." Contrary to Trotsky and his followers, the possibility of socialism in one country had entered into Lenin's writings prior to Bolshevik seizure of power, when in August 1915 he wrote, "Uneven economic and political development is an absolute law of capitalism. Hence, the victory of socialism is possible first in several or even in one capitalist country taken separately. The victorious proletariat of that country, having expropriated the capitalists and organized socialist production, would stand up against the rest of the world, the capitalist world, attracting to its cause the oppressed classes of other countries, raising revolts in those countries against the capitalists, and in the events of necessity, coming out with even armed force against the exploiting classes and their states." Thus, even on Lenin's account, once the proletariat is victorious even in one country, it can and must organize socialist production, in other words, build a socialist society. Lenin's own ideas stood in contradiction to the nihilistic defeatism of Trotsky and his followers, who would rather advise the proletariat to do nothing and wait for the most powerful industrialized nations to undergo socialist transformation before seizing power, even when conditions were right. And thus we can draw a direct line between socialism in one country and Leninism. Moreover, socialism in one country is proven to uphold Marxist-Leninist internationalism.